getting prepped. Should be getting the go-ahead pretty soon here. Both racers readying up. And it is memes on Laurie's side, and then Alula on KVZZ. Not sure what that means, but here we go. They're going to be started. One thing to note is because Celeste is ran on using in-game time, that's what we're going to be focusing on in this race. While you're not going to see any of the runners sort of stall in-game time is what we're worried about, as they are off to the races. You're seeing both of them hop along this. It's actually faster than just walking. Neither of them, well actually, let me hold my words for just... Cool, we saw none of them die on the prologue. Something that happens more often than not. I think Laurie there, at least a couple times, looked really close, like it was right on the edge of falling off there, but gets through it cleanly enough, and both of them essentially the same time going into Chapter 1. In Chapter 1's where we're going to really see this get started, as we have the dash. They're going to be pulling off moves called hypers. Allows them to build a lot more momentum. They're going to try to, out of those hypers, they're going to try to keep their dash at times. That's an extended hyper. They're going to be bouncing off of walls after the dash. That's a wall bounce. All of those to help build speed, get through these things as fast as possible. You just saw KVZZ do a reverse hyper, similar to an extended hyper where you're trying to get your dash. The difference there is you're able to build speed in the opposite direction. Laurie also getting that skip as well. Both of them moving along this section at very good paces. And there we see KVZZ just going through each of these rooms, no problem. Laurie only a few screens behind, however, so neither of them have had that sloppy a play here. Just KVZZ showing why they're a top runner in this game. Laurie definitely has the techniques down, but right there, a 109 for Chapter 1 for KVZZ. Very impressive. So no deaths there. Very clean. Laurie going for this neutral jump skip right there. Gonna get a mid 120 score. Yeah, but 124. So not too far behind. As KVZZ going here in Chapter 2. Really, there's that one death by Laurie that really, I think, is the big reason why we see this small gap in between the two runners. And Laurie, if she's going to want to get a win in this race, you're definitely going to need to keep those to a minimum for Laurie. Since KVZZ has that tech down a lot more, you need to make sure that you're running as clean as possible. And so a bit of a rough death there. Somewhat of a difficult skip right there for Laurie. You're trying to maintain your dash. Is finally able to get through that room. And it can be a little bit tough. I don't think that there's been anybody who's ran this game who hasn't ever felt like they deserve their dash to be back. So both runners right now on the battle line section of the game, so she's just going to be 3 seconds behind the runner the entire time. KVZZ, no issue with battle line, completely just going far ahead of each of the runners, or far ahead of each of the battle lines there to get a sizable lead. This is going to be a good Chapter 2. As Laurie moving along in the battle line section. Gets trapped in the corner a little bit there. And I'm really interested to see what this final time is going to be for KVZZ. That was a very impressive Chapter 2. A 153. Oh boy. And Laurie doing pretty well on this battle line chase. Missed the button there, but was able to get back to it in time before Bat would run into battle line. So great save there. As KVZZ is going to be going in to Chapter 3 at a very good pace. Good Chapter 1, good Chapter 2. Hopefully we can get 3 consecutive great chapters, and we got a good run going. So right there, you'll see them go, have these black and red orbs, call them dust bunnies. They're cycle based, but one thing that's going to be frustrating for runners a little bit, hopefully neither of them have to deal with it, but if you do die, their cycles are just oh so slightly different. So you'll see runners be going on a certain route, which helps them not necessarily manipulate their route, but get it to be beneficial to where they're not running into those dust bunnies, but yet doing these fast tricks. Like right here, able to double hyper off of those. Get a very quick room there by KVZZ, as Laura is about to enter the resort herself. KVZZ getting that skip, no problem. As Laurie's deciding to take this room a little bit slower right there, goes for the wave dash there, which is essentially an extended hyper in terms of what you get, but just really called a wave dash because you do it with the exact same precision as Smash Bros. Melee when you're doing a wave dash there. Doing another wave dash. It looks like maybe she prefers doing wave dashes over an extended hyper. Essentially, they do the same thing. I don't think one is faster or slower, but if it is, it's not by much, so it's really just up to runner's preference. KVZZ just flying through that room. Gonna go for a spike jump right here. Gets it, second try, so pretty good. Of course, not actually jumping off of the spike there, but instead using the wall behind the spike, and since after you jump off that wall, you're going in the opposite direction of where the spikes are pointing, it doesn't actually harm you. So Laurie's going to get that key right there. Going to get very close to that big mess section that KVZZ is working on, so that gives you 3 diverging routes. Right now, KVZZ on the second part of that. You could technically do that in any route that you want, but you're going to see them do bottom, middle, top, or bottom, top, middle, excuse me, as it's just in general faster. You end up being able to just dash right to Oshiro, not travel nearly as fast, so saves a few seconds by just taking an efficient route on that one. So KVZZ going on a pretty good pace in this Chapter 3. Not every room done perfectly, but I haven't seen any large death happen so far. Taking it a little bit safe there with that Dust Bunny. And that's going to get through the huge mess section at a very good pace. Laurie's finishing up. She gets her first part of huge mess, and is now going to go to the top section. So a bit of a small gap between their PBs. So KVZZ at 34.43, Laurie at 41.17. So the results that we're seeing right now aren't unexpected. KVZZ definitely the more experienced and faster runner, but Laurie's a good runner. Still definitely has a chance if she can keep up a clean run. And then tough death over there by Laurie. Seemed to have the room down, but just a little bit too far there to the right. So KVZZ on this last room before the Oshiro section. So pretty good time so far. As Laurie's going through the final button room. Or not button room, but button section. So Oshiro on this one, really just going to try to track your position, then after a certain amount of time is going to dash towards you. What these runners are going to do is they're going to put themselves in a certain location to make Oshiro dash to where you are not going to be. The difficulty of this section is if you do mess up your routing at all, it can be very hard to recover from because you're not necessarily used to where Oshiro is going to be. So each runner, of course, hopes that their section is going to go clean. As KVZZ really going, this chapter 3 is pretty clean for them so far. Just a few more dashes and should be out of this, waiting for that dust bunny to go by, and that's a 15-17 chapter 3. They'll be happy with that, as Laurie not too far behind. Probably a minute or so. Deciding to take this section a little bit slow. I think it's very important, you know, when you have a time that's above 40 minutes, it's really better that you're not dying more than it is anything. So going based off of that strategy, doesn't want to do anything too risky that might cause a time loss there, but definitely allowing KVZZ, who's having very clean first few chapters, take a pretty good lead so far. So have these dash blocks, so they're going to. This just allows you essentially to get an extra dash. One thing that you might not realize playing that casually is that you actually, if you dash when you enter those bubbles, you actually will immediately make the bubble dash. So you don't actually need to wait on that bubble each time. So they'll use that to their advantage. As Laurie here is on the Oshiro section. Moving at a pretty good pace so far. They're ducking under Oshiro. So right there, going to dash up, maintain that dash momentum, and then do a wall bounce there for a skip. Ooh, and tough break there. Tried to jump up above that and get that gem to retain the dash, but just misses it. Ends up hitting that spike. So a little bit of a rough go as Laurie here is on the final section. Running into a few of these dust bunnies. This is really one of the, definitely I think the hardest room of Oshiro. And really, at least for me personally, when you start to die on this section, it can be very frustrating. And you'll try to move faster and faster to try to make up time. And that won't necessarily help you because you do want to sort of make Oshiro go into different or certain areas of the screen. And if you're going too fast, it'll be on a you know, a separate area. But finishes it up at 11:13. Not a bad time for sure. Going for there we go, and so now we're going to get into a heavier wind section of this. Wind's going to start and stop. Makes a few of these rooms both a little bit tricky, as well as allows you to do some interesting skips like that one right there, where you just completely skip a button. Now the wind's going to get very strong. Makes a lot of these extended hypers much more precise. Laurie there getting a lot of these strats down in the first few rooms here of Chapter 4. KVZZ just dashing all along that section. Hopping over a snowball. And these snowballs, similar to Oshiro, going to dash towards you just on the right side of the screen as opposed to the left. And those can be very difficult, to say the least, because unlike Oshiro, who just completely projects their location, those snowballs do not. Laurie there going for a spike jump and does get that safe. Laurie here going for a wall bounce on that, gets it on second or third try there, as KVZZ going into Mirror Temple at a very good pace. So 12:30 roughly going into Chapter 5. I think they'll be pretty happy with that. Laurie going for an auto scroller skip, misses it. Let's see if they can recover. Just misses it. I think if she just waited for a half second more, possibly could have saved that. Let's see if she goes for it a second time. Misses it, but is able to recover. And as you can see here, KVZZ and Mirror Temple have these red balls, similar to the ones that we saw just in Chapter 4. This one extends your dash until you either hit a wall or dash out of this bubble. So you also see these dash blocks right there. So they'll just move into a certain position once you dash. What you'll see runners do is manipulate those to gain a lot of speed. As with the KVZZ getting bubble skip, that's going to save a good amount of time. Saves you from having to go through, grab a key, then going back to that location. Well, I guess not going back. You'd initially grab the key if you weren't going for the key skip there, but gets it. So both runners on a pretty good pace. Again, both runners actually PB'd KVZZ of his 34:43. That was during a race. Laurie, that was during a race. So definitely a theme of this tournament is PBing during races. It's probably too early to tell if we can get one today, but definitely been a theme of the tournament so far. So KVZZ is during the Seeker section. Allows you to play as one there for a second. You're just going to be dashing along. You'll see those further on, so those are just going to sort of track your position. Once they see you, they're going to get ready and sort of dash to your position. So runners, similar to a lot of other things in this game, they're going to manipulate their position to where they can dash and use them to their advantage. And tough break there by KVZZ, trying to build up speed a little bit on that dash, but ends up going into those. I guess I'll call them spikes, but they're not really spikes since they're moving. You know, they kind of look, don't know exactly how to describe them. Laurie moving across this screen nicely, gets a snowball to their advantage. It's only a few screens left and they'll finish up there. Chapter 4, head into Chapter 5 as well. And KVZZ right there using that Seeker to press those buttons. So you have to get all three buttons that are all, I guess each room has a different one. Right there is going to jump right on top of that one. And that Seeker is actually going to press that button for KV. Help save just a little bit of time. Ooh, and tough break there. Just barely misses. Jumping on the top of the Seeker. And instead dashes right into the Seeker. That time is a little bit more patient to ensure that they do not dash into the Seeker. So 9 deaths there on Chapter 4 for Laurie. So I think a little bit of time loss that I'm sure that they didn't want. But all in all, still a very good run for them. And you're about to see the biggest skip in the run. It's called Search Skip. If you're doing it casually, you probably remember getting a couple keys. We're not going to do that. We're just going to do a dash, get over that, and yeah, we're moving on next. And that skip, along with basically every skip in this game, I shouldn't say every skip, along with most major skips in this run, completely developer intended. This game was built around speedrunning. You can tell a lot by the movement tech, and a lot of things built into this game that this game was just built completely around the idea of speedrunning. And KV here on this Theo section. So here you're going to carry Theo, who is in a crystal orb, I guess, for story reasons. There's a rough room right now by KV, but is able to get through it. As Laurie herself getting bubble skip, so about a 3-minute gap behind them. So if Laurie wants to make a comeback, definitely is going to have to play as close to perfect as she can do, as well as hope KV has a few bad bounces. KV here, oh, beautiful room right there. Getting through it with a lot of momentum. Right there, throwing Theo off of a wall helps you gain a little bit more height. Allows you to do that room quicker. Gets you that perfectly, and they're going to go through Chapter 5 at probably lower than a 530 as Laurie finishes up the Seeker section. So yeah, 522. That's definitely a good pace, especially since KVZZ PB is 3443. So generally, you know, I don't like talking about saying that they are on a PB base until at least after reflection, because this section, at least on the battle line section, you can lose a lot of time with a couple slip-ups, especially with how long some of those rooms go. Laurie right there using good use of some wall bounces. KVZZ gonna go for the lake skip, and does it normal. Lake skip saves you about 4 seconds, but you have to do a pretty precise spike jump there, so opts to not go for it. Probably a smart move in a race setting. So here you're going to see these feathers. One thing to note about them, I believe KVZZ plays on keyboard. Those feathers are the only thing in this game. Actually, I don't know if it's the only thing. Water movement might also be analog movement. However, the feathers are analog movement, making it beneficial to use analog stick for at least that portion of the race. But when you're going keyboard, obviously you only have those digital inputs, so a lot of keyboard runners don't really care, but as there, Laurie's gonna get search skip. Moving along at a good pace. Had a pretty good early Seeker section. And right there, instead of trying to get that momentum from the block, just opts to use a couple dashes as KVZZ is flying through these. KVZZ opting to go for the bottom route there. There's some route divergences that you can choose to do. Most runners do the same. A lot do the top route, but bottom, there's nothing wrong with doing bottom. I do not know the time differences between the two, if there is any, but I think it's small enough that it's mostly just a matter of preference. Gonna have these bumpers there. When you dash on them, you get a lot more momentum, so that's what you see there. Laurie here going through this Theo section. That Seeker almost getting her as she goes through that door. Very close, and accidentally dashes into a Seeker. And hops off of one to make it not an issue. And ooh, a little bit of a tough break there by KV on that death, but and right there, Laurie gonna get that skip, goes right into the other room with it. That skip, more than anything, it does save time. That's a tough room with two Seekers there. More than just how cool it looks, or more so than just the time it saves, it looks really cool, and that's my favorite part about that skip. KV is going to go, in a few moments here, is going to get to my favorite skip in the game. I'll point it out when it happens, but you just build up so much speed. Speed in this game is uncapped, so as long as you can keep dashing or bunny hopping, maintaining your momentum, you're able to just keep speed. So you'll see it right here. KVZZ is going to ride this Kevin block, as they're called, and just going to use it to dash through to the battle line section. So right there, jumps, let's see, gets those bunny hops, and just gets one of the most beautiful skips in the entire run. So this battle line section, battle line, instead of chasing you, instead you're going to basically just run and dash into her. Gonna throw beams at you, both balls of beam. I don't know exactly what to call them, as well as a more of just a straight energy beam. You know, got the balls of energy, then your, what is it from Dragon Ball Z? Kame, whatever it is. So she's got that ability. She's going Super Saiyan. You can tell by her hair. As Laurie, doing pretty well here at the very beginning of Chapter 6. And one thing that's to note about this battle line section is a lot of it is really just trying to get your strategies right the first time and not dying. It can be very tough. It's one of the more demanding sections to keep up your cycles, because if you do mess it up, battle line could be at a place where now battle line's going to kill you with her beams. So you're going to want to see them get things right the first time, or else they're probably going to be retrying rooms. Even a small mistake can be very costly. Laurie here on this split section, opting to go to the top path. That's pretty much the most normal path that runners will take. So section 2 here of this battle line fight, music changes a little bit. It gets even more intense. Nothing really, right now you're going to have moving blocks as well. That's going to allow runners right there, as you saw, to get a little bit more vertical height on jumps if you do jump when it's going up. And then Laurie here, also going on the bottom section of this route as well, opting to go with these bumper blocks rather than the top route. So, just misses the feather there. As KV on this final room of battle line. And gets it. So great battle line section there for it. Gonna have a mid 6 in this, so probably leaving this chapter 6 with a 24:30 roughly. That's a very good time. Again, PB of 34:43, so looking to get about 10 minutes in chapter 7 for a PB there. Yeah, literally would need to get 9:59 or less, and we could possibly see a PB. Laurie trying to dash off of that bumper and just, you know, those can be tough. Ended up getting the bottom of that bumper and just shot her right down into the bottom. So one thing to note with this section is 2 dashes right now with for Madeline. Battleline and Madeline teamed up, combined their forces, and now we have 2 dashes, allowing you to do a lot of different strategies, allowed the developers to put in a lot more different things in the terms of level design. We're going to go back through each sort of section of the game. Right now, this is sort of the Chapter 6 section revisited. We're about to go to 500 meters, which is the Chapter 1 revisited, and we're just going to see it sort of as it would be with 2 dashes. Allows you to do an insane amount of skips, just really quick movement, a lot of dashes, consistently building up speed. As Laurie here, just a screen away from getting to the battle line fight herself. So let's see, it looks like she's starting to line herself up for that battle line skip. Let's see if she can get it there. Oh, just misses it, but still builds up momentum. As long as you do that, you're going to save some time. KVZZ finishing up the 500 meter section at 1 minute and 35 seconds. So really good pace right now. So definitely PB watch on KVZZ on their side as Laurie going through battle line right now. Not too bad of a beginning section of chapter 4, but definitely some deaths that I don't think she would have wanted on just on certain areas of it. So hopefully battle line section can be nice to her. Hopefully she'll be able to stick each of these rooms and have a good chapter 6 herself. So dream blocks are back. KV using that to their advantage, dashing through, building up lots of speed. I believe that was a hyper out of one of those. Built up so much speed there. So less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and we're already onto the 1500 meter section. Personally, I think that this is the most difficult in the run. A lot of people really think that it's not that bad. 3000 is harder, but KV making at least the first few rooms look like it's just child's play going through it. Laurie not seeming to have too many issues here on this battle line section, moving through that on a good pace. Misses a dash, but that's not going to lose much time. And this room, just so much cool movement right there. You're getting boosts and dashes the whole time, just consistently going through that. And KV just getting it through it in mere seconds on what casually can be one of the harder rooms of the summit section. And I don't know if KV has been, oh my goodness, just incredible speed. I don't know if they've been grinding this summit section, but they're going through each of these just incredibly quickly. Very fun to watch. So we're at the 2000 meter section. Wind's gonna come back in this one. Gonna take a top route up here. Gonna grab a strawberry. My favorite part of any percent runs is when we see strawberries. So when we end runs, you usually see anywhere between 0 and 3 strawberries. Anything more than that, and you're probably... Wait, oh, just misses another one. That one is slower to if you do grab it, but at the same time, sometimes you just grab it incidentally. So going for an auto-scroller skip here. Gonna get it first try. As Laurie. Just a few screens left on this battle line fight. So right here, you're probably not going to see KV going for that strawberry. Definitely does not, because that strawberry is, if you go for it, it's definitely slower. But this is an amazing pace right now. Everything is super clean. As Laurie finishing up battle line herself. Very decent battle line section. Again, the beginning wasn't, I don't think, the best. But at the same time, getting through this in roughly 8 minutes, that's definitely a good time. And so less than 5 minutes into Summit and already on the 1500 meter or 2500 meter section. And this one is probably the most exciting to watch, at least in my opinion, because you have a lot of crazy skips going on in this. Right there, gonna extend a dash off of that one, build up a lot of momentum. Here you're doing 2 wave dashes, getting through that room. Now you're gonna get to key skip. That's 2 straight spike jumps. Having a little bit of trouble here. Gonna get out after the 5th time. Resets to go to the beginning of the room. Alright, KV going through that. That's a tough skip. Definitely a lot harder than it looks. Opting to not go for door skip, probably smart. I wonder if that is because they know that they're on an extremely good pace and don't want to sort of have a unnecessary death. Door skip there, of course, saves about a second, but can be, it's viewed as a high risk, low reward. Some runners think that it's pretty hard to find a second of save, so go for it, but just sort of depends. So we're going to go into the 3000 meter section at 30:54. So has a little bit under 4 minutes in order to PB. So definitely on a great pace to PB. But let's not forget Laurie here on the other side on this 500 meter section. Just a few more screens to go on a good pace herself. Again, her PB is a 41:17, so would definitely have to have a good summit in order to get that PB, but a pretty good pace so far. So just a great pace right now. 22 to go, and just is making these, you know, you look away for a second and they already have another checkpoint. Just 20 to go. Man, as Laurie's going through this 1,000 meter section, using the misses a button there. That's tough. Ooh, great save by Laurie. On the brink of death, is able to come back. There's able to get it. Check flag number 15. 14 and 13 are both two very long ones. So we'll see if he keeps up. He's going very fast on these. Let's see if he gets by it. So 13 right here. Another long one. A personally one of my least favorite of 3,000 meters because of this final jump right here. But KVZZ going to get it. No problem. It's just a somewhat tight jump. It's not incredibly difficult, but after that long flag, can definitely be frustrating. Laurie going to the 1,500 meter section. Wow, just 7 to go, and KV going at an insane pace right now. And Laurie's going through this 15,000 meter section pretty quickly as well. So going a little bit safe there instead of going on that faster strategy. But we'll see how she ends up doing, which is a few more left in 1,500 meters. So right here, we're on check flag number 3 at a 33.24. Okay. Rather have that death there than far later on there, so not a big deal. I believe that's only that's one or two deaths that they had in that section. So check flag number 2. It's going to be close for a 33. Okay, has 12 seconds. I don't know if it's possible, but if you can get through this very quickly, then maybe. It's going to be very close, folks. 3 seconds. Oh, and it is. By 1 second is going to get the 33. That's a 33.59. What a PB. What a run by KVZZ. And I think a lot of these runners are just going to just PBing every single race. I think that they just want to race every single time to get those PBs. GG to KV on that win. But Laurie on the other side, not doing too bad herself. 34.30. Going through a little bit more than halfway through this 2,000 meter section. So definitely has her work cut out for her in terms of a PB, but definitely a great pace. And very impressive there, only 14 deaths. Man, that whole summit itself was just incredibly quickly. Laurie going for an auto scroller skip is gonna die on that dash right there. It's a little bit tight. There's two very difficult sections on this one. Gets the first part this time. Let's see if she can get the second one. Is able to get it. Oh, Laurie, what a save by Laurie. On the brink of death, bonked her head, but was able to recover that. So finishing up here on the battle line section. So roughly 36 minutes. Going to the 2,500 meter section. So again, her PB is 41.17. So would definitely have to go on a very good pace for a PB. There messes up that strat a little bit, so is going to exit out, re-entered so that you can get it. That one can be tough because you're trying to do a wave dash off of that, but that block moves when you dash, so you have to be somewhat precise there. So a little bit harder than it looks, but is able to get it after a couple tries there. This one's also a pretty tough one. Those 2 wave dashes off of there, so yeah, having a little bit of trouble there. Laurie going for spike jump is going to get it. And we're joined here by KV. How do you feel after that PB?
Oh my god, I feel so good. I mean, I lost a lot of time, but
where were you losing?
That was so clutch.
Yeah, that was a really good summit. There was that chapter 3 or check flag 3, I should say, death, but not too bad. How are you feeling there going into in that 3,000 meter section?
Oh man, I know how I've practiced 3000 a lot, so I know like about how fast I can do it. I usually shoot for like sub 3, and when I came in, it was like when I came into 3000, I was like barely below 31 minutes. So I knew if I didn't screw up too bad, I could get 30 feet. And I didn't until flag 3, and I thought I blew it.
Well, it ended up being, because that was about let me see if I have it right. That wasn't that about a 40-second PB? What was your PB beforehand?
Yeah, it was a 44-second PB.
Okay, so definitely close, but not necessarily. Definitely a good PB.
Yeah.
Laurie here about to finish up the 2,500 meter section, going to 3,000 meters herself. What a save right there! Ooh, tough break. Gonna end up hitting the spikes instead of the bumper there. Yeah, so I noticed you must have been grinding the summit section a lot, because it seems like other section maybe you were playing. I don't want to say they were safe strats, but maybe a little bit safer. And then that whole summit section, you were just breezing through that.
Yeah, I did the golden strawberry for summit yesterday, so
Yeah.
I've been practicing a little bit. Without that death on flag 3, I think that would have been a PB, ILPB actually.
That could have been. I'm pretty sure that was.
I was off by a few seconds. Like my golden strawberry run yesterday was like 9:17. I got a 9:22 here.
Wow.
So it almost. So yeah. But yeah, about the practice thing, I could really, you can really tell which parts of the run I practiced and didn't practice, because before this race, I had been practicing like a lot of like a few sections, like chapter 3-ish, the battle line fight, and parts of Summit, but I did not practice any part of Mirror Temple before Theo.
Oh man!
So you might have been able to tell that I lost quite a bit of time on there, especially in like unraveling that last room. I don't usually die there, but I did here.
That unraveling section could be tough, because it's so, like, a lot of things just based off of getting those cycles for those seekers. So if you're out of practice, then they're in somewhere where you're not used to, and you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, that's what happened there. I'm usually used to like getting the last switch and then the seeker being like below me, so I can just like bounce on him for safety. But he actually got there before me, so I took it out there. But
yeah, other than that, it seemed like all your other sections, your first 3 chapters all seem to be very smooth. Oh
yeah, I think I did Deathless through until chapter 4 actually.
I believe Death so.
Was the retry for the key, which is amazing because I'm so bad at Resort. It's my least favorite chapter. I managed to do it without dying.
I think that's a pretty common opinion, is not liking that. So Laurie right here only has 16 flags to go. 14 now. So when's your next race coming up, KV?
My next race is Wednesday against Fluttery.
Oh, so that's going to be an interesting
one
one.
seed. So yeah, I don't expect to win, but I
mean,
could if I have a really good run and he has a kind of iffy run.
I don't
So
know if they have to have an iffy run. I mean, you just got a 33. A 33 in a tournament time is really good. I know Flat is a fantastic runner, but you just put up a top time yourself. So
yeah,
I think that's going to be a really great race.
yeah. I'll try to do even better for that race.
Well, that would be 3 straight race PBs, so
Indeed, it would.
be very impressive. So Laurie here finishing up, just has 6 more flags to go. Pretty good pace for her, so a bit off of PB pace, but definitely not a bad run. Just 4 flags to go. I said that just a second early, and she goes and dies on right before it, so cursed there. So just the longest check flags to go. So in this race, KV, what were there any points where you were, what do you think was your any points where you were just? It sounds like it was probably, I can already know the answer, but what sections were you just a little bit nervous on? What sections do you think you absolutely did fantastic on?
I did like my first 3 chapters, Deathless. That's really good. I didn't lose that. I barely lost any. Actually, I think I might have saved time on Ridge. Yes, I saved like 2 seconds on Ridge, but I know I can do better because I've done better. I've done better ridges in practice. And then definitely Mirror Temple. Mirror Temple. I can go for like sub 5, but I was like 5:20 this run.
A 5:20 is definitely
pretty,
still 5:20 is still a good time. As Laurie finishing
yeah.
up, gonna get that flag. 53, 36 or 37 on that one. GG to her. Yep, 43-36. That's a great time. 2 great times put up. Off of a PB by 2 minutes roughly, but still, those first 5 chapters were very, very good for Laurie, and then chapter 7 as well was definitely good. We'll see if we can get her in a little bit after she wraps up her run a little bit. And only I see 14 deaths there on your screen, so I think that probably. Have you had any runs with fewer deaths than that? It seemed like that was.
No. I had